So 2012 has come and gone, and in this year I've played a lot of great games, and I've played a lot of shit games. So I thought it would be great to say the best and the worst game of 2012. Now, the best game was the game that I didn't cover in any of my videos, and that is Spec Ops: The Line. This game is absolutely great. It's a third-person shooter, beautiful setting, beautiful character development, beautiful story, fluid controls. It has a story and a line that you actually care about. It has twists, turns. I can't go into too much detail about this game because it does create spoilers, but it's just probably the best shooter that I've played in a long time. Like, with the modern military shooter, it gets kind of old with the same, like, move forward and, like, oh, the invasion of America or something like that. Just boring things like that, or just World War Two. These things are just being played out a lot in games recently, and just to have just a completely different experience and a different setting, and it just was really, like, it all ties in together. The only criticism of the game is with most not first person, but just with most shooters in general, like, it gets to this point where it's kind of like the wave of enemies, and, like, just you advance, you kill people, advance the next thing. But that's pretty much it's what you expect when you get into games like this, and they do break it up with different events, new enemies, new different additions and stuff like that. They also have a nice range of weapons, and you can change weapons, and it just everything that goes into this game is come out great. There's very few criticisms in this game, and given all the games that came out this year, I still reckon this is the best by a wide margin. So that's why the best game of 2012 goes to Spec Ops: The Line. I bought it on Steam for a pretty cheap deal on, like, their summer specials or winter specials, depending on what hemisphere you're in. So I strongly recommend anyone who hasn't played this game to go check it out. It's probably, no regrets, and you can probably pick it up for cheap if you buy it on Steam. Now, the worst game of 2012, I know that a lot of you are expecting me to say it's War Z, although War Z is a very, very poorly implemented game and has a shitload of problems. It actually isn't the worst game to come out in 2012. The worst game in 2012 goes to Command & Conquer Tiberium Alliances. Now, the backstory of Command & Conquer is something I've been playing since I was like 8 or 9. Like, that was one of the first games I ever played, was just Command & Conquer, which is now referred to as Command & Conquer Gold, which was just the original Command & Conquer, the first one to come out. And that was great. It introduced me to real-time strategy. It introduced me to a whole, like, range of things, of, like, unit control, stuff like that, tactics, all sorts of things that, just were completely new to me as a kid. And it was the best game of my childhood that I played. And then Tiberium Sun came out, and Tiberium Sun was amazing, and then there was the expansion pack for that. And just Westwood, they were creating these great games. But then, unfortunately, Westwood had financial issues, and they ended up being bought out by EA. And then EA took over the Command & Conquer franchise, and they brought out Command & Conquer 3, which was decent. It wasn't that bad. It didn't really advance the series in any way. It had graphical updates, and it had newer features, but it didn't really bring anything that major new to, like, the genre. Like, it came out at the same time as Company of Heroes, and Company of Heroes brought out, weaknesses on tanks, like if you shoot in the rear armor or side, it does more damage than if you assault in the front armor. It didn't really bring that in that well into that game, and so that kind of hurt it. And then they brought out Command & Conquer Twilight, which was by far the worst thing they could have ever done. And that was just the point where everyone who had any, like, just any fandom for the Command & Conquer series just pretty much threw it out the window. You just gave up on the series after Twilight came out, because it was just a massive backward step, and the game was just terrible. And you thought, that's it, finally. And they ended the series. It ended Command & Conquer on a really confusing and stupid way, but at least it was done. So you're like, it's great. EA cannot hurt this franchise anymore. But no, they had to bring out Command & Conquer Tiberium Alliances. And this is a web-based game, so it's kind of like those crappy little Facebook things. And a real time. It's not even really a real time strategy. It's like, it's just rage on your computer. It's just so shit. Like, it's a play to win. It even has rip-off units of other games that are in there. It's just poorly implemented. You have to like constantly play it like 8 hours a day, day after day, if you actually want to get anywhere in the game. It just so terrible and rage-inducing. Like, War Z was rage-inducing, but nowhere near as rage-inducing for me than Tiberium Alliances. Like, it's just horrible, a horrible game, and it's just like Farmville. Just you can't take, like, can you imagine like Call of Duty or something that's really popular amongst people, and they just dumb it down to this crappy point and click flash game for Facebook, and you have to pay real money to get like anything better than a handgun. Like, if you can imagine something like that, that is basically what Tiberium Alliances has done with the Command & Conquer franchise. So, in a nutshell, fuck you, EA. You fucked this series to the point of no returns. Like, if I had my way, I would start like a what's it called? An Indiegogo, or one of those indie crowdfunding sites, purely to raise enough money to buy back the franchise from EA, purely so these people cannot hurt this thing any further. Like, Westwood, you should have just let it die instead of selling it to EA. It's so terrible. So, yeah, that's been the best and the worst games of 2012. And please, whatever you do, do not try out Tiberium Alliances. That game is shit.